5:07 a.m., southern Persian Gulf, 16 nautical miles northwest of Sir Abu Nuair Island. The USS Whirlwind fired 4 warning shots across the bow of an advancing Iranian fast boat. The Iranian boat did not stop. 41 seconds later, an Iranian rocket impacted the Whirlwind's stern. The fire reached the ammunition storage in under 90 seconds. Welcome to Global Warfare TV. What you are about to hear is a reconstruction of an engagement that escalated faster than any peacetime warning shot procedure in U.S. Navy history was designed to handle. A single Iranian fast attack craft that absorbed 4 warning shots, continued its attack run, and fired a rocket-propelled grenade that started a fire aboard a U.S. naval vessel while the ship was still attempting to follow the graduated response protocol. We are going through the full timeline of this incident, the failure of the warning shot procedure to stop a determined attacker, the damage control battle that lasted 23 minutes below decks, and what this engagement revealed about a fundamental doctrinal assumption the U.S. Navy had been operating under for years that may no longer be valid. Let's get into it. The USS Whirlwind. Hull designation PC-11. Cyclone-class coastal patrol ship. 179 feet. 336 tons. 28 crew. She had been operating in the southern Persian Gulf Maritime Security Zone for 11 days when the engagement occurred. Her patrol area covered the waters around Sir Abu Nuair Island, a small island disputed between Iran and the UAE, situated approximately 85 nautical miles northeast of Abu Dhabi. In the weeks prior to the engagement, 2 commercial vessels had reported approaches by unmarked fast boats in the area. The Whirlwind had been repositioned to increase U.S. presence in the zone. At 4:22 a.m., the Whirlwind's radar detected a single fast-moving contact bearing 292. The contact was tracked at 44 knots on a course that, if maintained, would take it directly toward the Whirlwind's position. The CO, who had been on the bridge since 3:45 a.m. following an earlier false alarm, watched the track develop. Single contact, fast, direct approach. He attempted to raise the contact on Channel 16, the International Maritime Distress and Calling Frequency, at 4:24 a.m. No response. He attempted again at 4:27 a.m. No response. At 4:31 a.m., the contact was 6.3 nautical miles away and had not altered course or speed. General quarters was called. The crew went to battle stations. The Mark 38 was manned, and its targeting system was slaved to the CIC's surface track. Both .50 caliber positions were manned. The Mark 19 crew was at their station. At 4:39 a.m., the contact was 3.1 nautical miles away. The Whirlwind spotlight was activated, a 24-inch carbon arc searchlight capable of illuminating a vessel at that range. Through night vision optics, the crew could see the approaching craft. It was a PACAP 2 fast attack boat running without lights, with what appeared to be at least 2 crew members visible in the cockpit. The boat was not slowing. At 4:44 a.m., 2.1 nautical miles, the CO gave the order to fire warning shots. The warning shot procedure under Standing ROE for 5th Fleet Area of Operations is a graduated sequence. Step 1. Verbal warnings on emergency frequency. Step 2. Visual signals, flares or spotlights. Step 3. Warning shots, fired clearly across the bow and ahead of the approaching vessel. Not at it, but close enough to be unambiguous. Step 4. Disabling fire, aimed at the vessel's propulsion. Step 5. Lethal engagement. The Whirlwind had completed steps 1 and 2. At 4:44 and 11 seconds a.m., the Mark 38 fired one 25mm round. The round impacted the water approximately 80 meters ahead of the Iranian boat's bow. The Iranian boat did not change course or speed. At 4:44:28 a.m., 17 seconds after the first warning shot, the Mark 38 fired a second round. This one impacted 50 meters ahead of the bow. The Iranian boat did not change course or speed. It was now 1.7 nautical miles away, still at 44 knots. At 4:44:47 a.m., the third warning shot, 40 meters ahead of the bow. No change. At 4:45 a.m., 54 seconds after the first warning shot. The fourth. This one was deliberately closer, 22 meters ahead of the bow. Close enough that the spray from the detonation likely reached the boat's cockpit. No change. The Iranian boat was now 1.1 nautical miles away. At 44 knots, it would reach the Whirlwind in approximately 82 seconds. The CO authorized disabling fire at 4:45:08. The Mark 38 traversed from ahead of the Iranian boat's bow to its propulsion section, the stern, where the engine and propeller were. The shot required precision. The intent was to disable the boat, not necessarily destroy it. This is the doctrinal step between warning shots and lethal engagement. Hit the engine, stop the boat, preserve the option to board, to identify crew, to determine whether this was an attack or something else. The first disabling shot was fired at 4:45:11 a.m. range, approximately 1 nautical mile. The round was on target. Post-engagement assessment confirmed it struck the aft section of the Iranian boat. But a PACAP 2 at 44 knots, with even a partially damaged engine, continues to travel. Mechanical destruction is not instantaneous. The boat continued. Speed, from 44 knots down to approximately 31 knots. Still moving, still on course. At 4:45:49, 38 seconds after the first disabling shot, the Iranian boat was at approximately 600 meters and still closing. One of the crew members in the boat's cockpit stood, raised an object to his shoulder, and fired. The rocket-propelled grenade impacted the Whirlwind's stern at 4:45:52 a.m. The warhead struck a point on the stern approximately 4 feet above the waterline, penetrating the light aluminum hull and detonating inside the after-machinery space. The after-machinery space on a Cyclone-class ship contains the ship's secondary electrical switchboard, hydraulic components for the steering gear, and adjacent to it, separated by a bulkhead, a storage locker containing ready service ammunition for the Mark 19 40mm grenade canisters. The RPG warhead's detonation started a fire in the after-machinery space. The fire reached the bulkhead separating the machinery space from the ammunition storage within 90 seconds. The temperature in the ammunition storage compartment began rising within 2 minutes. 40mm grenades are not fragile. They require a specific combination of mechanical shock and heat to initiate. But sustained fire in an enclosed compartment will reach initiation conditions for propellant if not extinguished. The Whirlwind had a maximum of 8 to 10 minutes before the temperature in the storage locker reached critical levels. The damage control team, 7 personnel led by the ship's first lieutenant, reached the after-machinery space at 4:47:10 a.m. They were in full damage control gear, flash hoods, fire-resistant coveralls, OBA, oxygen-breathing apparatus. The fire was fed by hydraulic fluid from a ruptured line. Hydraulic fluid burns hot and does not extinguish easily with water. They switched to AFFF, aqueous film-forming foam, at 4:47:44. On deck, the engagement was not over. The Iranian boat, moving at approximately 19 knots after the second disabling hit from the Mark 38, which had been fired even as the RPG was in the air, had passed 200 meters off the Whirlwind's port side and was now behind the ship, circling. A second crew member in the boat was visible through NVGs, also with a shoulder-launched weapon. The CO made the call at 4:46:01, 3 seconds before the fire alarm fully registered on the bridge. He authorized lethal engagement. He did not know yet that his ship was on fire. He knew that an Iranian boat had fired an RPG at his vessel and was circling for another shot. The Port Point .50 caliber opened fire at 4:46:04. The Iranian boat was at approximately 340 meters on the port quarter, still moving. The .50 caliber is effective at that range against light hull targets. The gunner, a petty officer second class with 2 prior Gulf deployments, put 2 sustained bursts into the boat's hull and cockpit. The boat lost all power and went dead in the water. The second Iranian crew member did not fire a second rocket. The Whirlwind was safe from the external threat at 4:46 and 11 seconds a.m. She was not safe from the fire. The damage control battle below decks lasted 23 minutes. The AFFF suppressed the hydraulic fire by 4:51 a.m. The heat in the adjacent ammunition storage locker had reached 47 degrees Celsius, elevated but below initiation temperature. The damage control team ran a continuous water mist boundary cooling system on the bulkhead, separating the fire space from the ammunition storage from 4:48 a.m. until the fire was fully extinguished at 5:08 a.m. They kept the boundary below critical temperature by 8 degrees. 8 degrees. If the fire had burned 4 minutes longer before the AFFF reached effective coverage, if the hydraulic fluid had reignited, if a bulkhead seal had failed, if 1 more degree had been added to that locker, the ammunition storage would have initiated. The blast in an enclosed space that size aboard a 336-ton aluminum-hulled ship would have been catastrophic. The Whirlwind's crew of 28 contained 3 trained damage control specialists. They were prepared. They were fast. They did their jobs at 4:46 a.m. under conditions that included knowing the ship had been hit, not knowing if another rocket was coming, and working in an enclosed burning compartment and gear that limits visibility and mobility. All 3 were later awarded the Navy Achievement Medal. The post-fire damage assessment, the after machinery space was gutted. Secondary electrical switchboard destroyed. Steering gear hydraulics severed and requiring full replacement. The hull penetration from the RPG, a 14-inch diameter hole above the waterline. The ship was structurally sound. She was not in danger of sinking, but she was not capable of independent maneuvering. The steering gear was offline. She was dead in the water. The USS Firebolt, another Cyclone-class patrol ship, arrived on scene at 6:19 a.m. A tow was established. The Whirlwind was brought to Jebel Ali port in the UAE under tow. The Iranian boat, disabled by the .50 caliber, was found still floating at dawn. 3 crew members were aboard. 2 were dead. 1 was alive and unconscious. The survivor was recovered by UAE Coast Guard vessels coordinated through the 5th Fleet's Maritime Operations Center. He was treated at a UAE medical facility. He remained in UAE custody pending a determination of applicable law and the diplomatic dimensions of the engagement. His status was not publicly disclosed. The intelligence assessment of the Iranian boat and its crew produced findings that shaped the post-incident analysis in ways that were not comfortable for anyone. The boat was not an IRGCN naval asset. It was registered through a false ownership chain that took analysts 3 weeks to unravel, to a private entity connected to an IRGCN Aerospace Force procurement network. The crew were not regular IRGCN naval personnel. Based on the survivor's identity and what the intelligence community could establish about the 2 deceased crew members, the attack had been conducted by what was effectively a contracted irregular unit, not uniformed IRGCN sailors following military orders, but a semi-autonomous cell operating under general direction from an IRGCN handler with operational autonomy at the tactical level. This finding had significant implications for how the warning shot failure was interpreted. The standard warning shot procedure is designed around an assumption that the approaching vessel's crew is rational, understands what a warning shot means, and has a decision structure that allows for compliance. Regular military units have a chain of command. A boat commander who sees 4 warning shots can radio his superior and receive a decision. He can weigh the risk of continuing against the certain destruction that compliance avoidance is likely to produce. An irregular contracted cell operating with full autonomous authority at the tactical level does not have that structure. The cell commander is his own decision-maker. His operating instructions, as reconstructed from the intelligence assessment, were approximately: approach the target, demonstrate capability, create an incident. The degree of force and the personal risk were at his discretion. 4 warning shots at a boat crew operating under those instructions might produce exactly what they produced that morning: continued approach, escalation to RPG fire, and a fire aboard a U.S. Navy vessel. The doctrinal implication, which was formally surfaced in the Fifth Fleet's post-incident report, was that the graduated warning shot procedure assumes a rational military adversary. It is less effective and potentially counterproductive against irregular or non-state-aligned actors operating under tactical autonomy in Iranian-controlled waters. The Navy's Surface Warfare Directorate began a formal review of warning shot doctrine within 45 days of the incident. The review is ongoing. The Whirlwind was repaired and returned to service. Her after-machinery space was fully rebuilt. The steering gear was replaced. The hull penetration was patched and reinforced. She was back on patrol in the Persian Gulf within 4 months. But the fire that burned in her stern for 23 minutes left a mark that does not show up in the damage assessment. The crew who fought it know what 8 degrees of temperature margin feels like. They know what it means to hold a boundary with foam and a water mist system in a burning compartment while not knowing if a second rocket is inbound. 8 degrees, 23 minutes, 3 sailors with OBA and AFFF. That is the difference between a story about a patrol ship that survived an RPG hit and a story about a patrol ship that didn't. And the Iranian boat crew, 2 dead, 1 survivor, 1 boat dead in the water at dawn in the Persian Gulf, had started the night expecting an incident. They got one. Global Warfare TV documents these engagements at the operational level where the real lessons live. Subscribe for full tactical breakdowns of the moments that shape naval doctrine. Hit the notification bell and leave your assessment in the comments. At 4:45 and 8 seconds a.m., after 4 warning shots and 0 compliance, do you go to disabling fire, or do you go directly to lethal engagement? Because the CO of the Whirlwind chose disabling fire. That choice cost him 41 seconds. Those 41 seconds cost his ship a fire. He would make a different choice today. Stay vigilant, stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.